Tour 12 concludes at the last race before the chase. 349 for the running of the Turn of Death 500. The main reason for the name is because in the middle of the track near the gas station, Petro Canada, is the Turn of Death, where a lot of the leaders, especially, well, a lot of the leaders and drivers wreck on that final corner. It's almost a near impossible corner they have to go through, and it sets up for interesting finishes and results. Even without the Turn of Death, there's still some good finishes you could expect at this track. Matt McIntyre, Dion Scott shared the front row, as you see Dion Scott trying to go for the lead against Matt McIntyre. Neither of them have won this season, so if they win, one of them wins today, they'll probably get into the chase, depending on if they have enough wins to boot. But anyway, McIntyre goes low, Scott goes high. First battle with the Turn of Death of the race, and both of them somehow survive. But Matt McIntyre clears the 30, uses the Turn of Death, and clears him for the lead. But here comes their second run of the Turn of Death, and Matt McIntyre was not so lucky this time. Neither was Dion Scott, so the front row starters wreck out on the second lap of the race, thanks to the treacherous and deadly Turn of Death, and a big wreck behind them, as you see an overhead view of Matt McIntyre, Dion Scott's incident with the Turn of Death, as both of the drivers would be out of contention for the win on that wreck. And here's the wreck you saw in the back. Dylan Young had the hardest hit of them all. He flips over, getting spun by the 66 Roman Rahal. Rahal is safe, though, with those 2 wins this season, but Dylan Young, looks like he's not going to compete for the championship this year. Here's an onboard look of Dylan Young as he flips a couple times, barrel rolls down the Turn of Death, and stops by in the gas station in one of the barriers there. Anyway, under the caution, Austin Talley would take the lead after all that, but he would have to face the Turn of Death as the leader on his own. And he went a little bit too high, but it's at least better than what Joshua Balkin had as he spun out on the Turn of Death right here. Joshua Balkin gets his back sided, gets winded, and spun out. And again, another wreck happened, this time with Aaron Frank. Just moments later, Aaron Frank would get involved in the Turn of Death as well. Pit stops would come in under the caution, and they were chaotic. Even without the Turn of Death, 349 has some chaotic results, like I said, and probably one of the reasons is this one. Look at this, as Sean Harple gets sandwiched between Pichu for some reason. Not sure how they would service both drivers at the same time. A lot of drivers beating and banging. They would get a lot of irreversible damage they would acquire in the race. They would never get back to it. So most of them retired because of those calamity at pit road. But anyway, the Turn of Death once again takes out the leader. Austin Talley could not avoid it the second time around. He did it on the first try barely, but the second time just wasn't to be. But anyway, Cody Hagan would take the lead, but he would have to face the Turn of Death as a leader on his own. He was still green during both of those periods, but Cody Hagan was not lucky at all. As you could see, he also was the victim. Had to stop by for extra gas there. But anyway, Trevor Gelfie and Leah Walker, moments later, they get involved with their own brush as they both spun out with each other. And they were able, though, to get up to speed, I think, with minimal damage, which is a good feat considering the Turn of Death's storied history. But anyway, wow, a big wreck. During the caution period, believe it or not, Webster Zangarde holds up a lot of the field during the caution, and a lot of drivers would get more damage that they would not reverse, and they would have to retire because of this. And this happened during the caution period. But anyway, Navarro would take the lead on the restart, but he would not get a good start because the pace car wouldn't let him get enough distance for him to start, because it just went down after it's crossed the start-finish line. It's a weird glitch that happens at 349, yet it is workable somehow. It's able to work through it. But anyway, Aaron Frink tried to get aggressive for second, and he spins out on the S-curves downhill, down the dirt. Here it is, another look again from his view, as Frink tried to make a move for his own, and he just couldn't make it work. But anyway, the 96 Navarro, thanks to the 3 wide for second battle, would pull away from the pack, but he would have to face the turn of death, and he got a little too high. And so was George Rourke as well. And as you see, the others would, and well, you see Austin Mongold, he would get the worst of it during the period. He spun out, and he gets hit by, I think, Austin LaPlante, and Austin Mongold would not continue on the car, and he would be done for the race. Pit stops came in, and they came up with a lot of leaders during the final couple laps. As you see, Mason Wood was supposed to be the leader, but he wasn't prepared for the pace car to get him enough distance, and he loses the lead, second, and possibly even third. As you see, the 90 of Charles Sanford. That's right, Charles Sanford, the 90 for a one-race deal, takes the lead. We had Avi Sachs, then Jacob Lawler in the number 90, but now it's Charles Sanford running in the number 90 for a one-race deal. And he's not going to get a win in his only start this season. He gets victimized by the turn of death, and he would spin out and be out of contention for the win of his own. A couple laps to go, just 5 laps to go here at 349. Nick Altendorf would take the lead, and he would not get a good restart. He got a little better restart than what Mason Wood had put up, by the way, the 44. But still, though, it was not a great restart thanks to the pace car. As the pace car is doesn't really give them a lot of distance to really start the green flag. It just sets up an awkward start for the leaders, and it's really a difficult start for them. And it's even before the turn of death. And speaking of which, Nick Altendorf holds on to Mason Wood. He'd have to face the turn of death, though, and he didn't do so well. As you see, he gets hit on the wall, and he just couldn't continue the race. There was another wreck before the turn of death as Pichu spins out the 30 of Dion Scott. He had an eventful day of his own, as you see an onboard camera of Dion Scott of the number 30. Got spun by the 99 Pichu, and he sees what's beyond the turn of death through the trailers, trying to escape through. This is probably, I think he's the first driver to go through this, part of the track, for any driver ever in 349. And this race has been on every season of the NASCAR Beaumont Cup Series, goes through the Petro-Canada sign, and tries to get back up on track, tries to get back at least onto the pavement of the track, and he certainly does. He hits like a couple of cars there, but those cars are not real. But if they were realistic, I'm not sure how these drivers would survive here at this track with these cars parked like that. But anyway, we would have ourselves a green-white checker, 2 laps to go at 349, and this sets up a really rockin' restart, as George Rourke did not get the start he needed. Well, I think Rourke was a lap down anyway. Oh, no, never mind. I think Rourke was on the lead lap. But the 97, Joshua Balkin, would take the lead away. He'd have to face the turn of death on his own, though, with 2 to go. Possibly the last time if there is a caution that happens before. But Joshua Balkin did make it through the turn of death and is not going to win. Oh, tough break for him. He had to win anyway. He's still in the chase. But George Rourke came down pit road. I don't know why, because this is the white flag lap. It's so strange. Nathan Hudson's down a lap. I thought he was the leader, but he's actually a couple laps down like everybody else. As you see on the left, you see the drivers retired, and there were a lot of them retired the laps down. Zachary Chambers, in fact, went on to take the lead. Nicholas Guerrero running in second. 5 and 55 battling for the win here. Chambers trying to get in the chase. Guerrero trying to lock himself in the chase with his... He already has a win. He's now going for 2. Turn of death for the final time. Who will get it through? Chambers or Guerrero down the turn of death. And it looks like both drivers made it through. But Guerrero's trying to keep it on. Chambers trying desperately to go through the final corner with the lead. Battling side by side the final corner. Guerrero has the advantage, and coming off the final corner, finally clearing the 5 of Chambers, Nicholas Guerrero is going to get his second win of Season 12 here at the Turn of Death 500 at 349. What a finish as Guerrero prevents Chambers from at least trying to get a spot in the chase, his second win of the year, and he's locked himself in the chase for himself. As you see, R.J. Bishop spun out on the turn of death at the final time. He was one of the final victims, probably the final victim of the turn of death of the race. Here's onboard camera. Here's what they saw. They were battling side by side throughout. As you're going to see rotating views of Chambers and Guerrera battling through the turn of death. How they were able to get through the turn of death, still be able to battle side by side for the win. And you see here Nathan Hudson. He couldn't get through the turn of death. He got out of the way. That sets up open room for these two drivers to run, to battle for the win. As you see, Guerrera, he had the preferred line. Well, Chambers also did, but Guerrera had a little bit of better speed, probably because of less damage. And he goes through the final corner, and Nicholas Guerrera takes away what could have been a chase spot for Zachary Chambers. And Chambers is going to really be heartbroken on the final results. Guerrera earns his second win of the year, locks himself in the chase. The rest of the field, not going to go through it all. Balkin came home in 10th place, by the way, but he had no fuel. But boy, what a way to end World Course Tour 12. It was a great 10-race run around the world, and it was surely fun. Chaser's video is coming up on P2 London and Facebook. I'm not going to post it on this same video. I'm going to do it as a separate one because it's not going to take a little too long. And so the Chasers vid will be coming up. When it does come out, I'll leave a link in the description below, and along with Facebook. Well, Facebook, if you follow me on Facebook, I will let you guys know when the Chasers are up too. So anyway, we have 16 Chasers, 17 winners though. So one winner is not going to get in the chase. Just to let you know, we already set our 16 chase fields. So again, Chasers video is coming up on P2 London and on Facebook when it does come out. The link will be in the description below when it does come out. But anyway, in the next race, we'll start the chase right after World Course Tour 12 this year at Homestead Miami Speedway for the running of the Southwest 500, the first chase race of the year with 16 chasers. I've decided to do the chase right now instead of having All-Star Weekend. All-Star Weekend, by the way, is being pushed to the end of the season after the season finale. So I don't know about the All-Star Weekend, but we do know the chase is coming up immediately at Homestead Miami. See you there.